Roger. Is that you? It can't be Roger. He said he would be back tomorrow night. I just know someone is downstairs. Whoever you are, I have a gun, and I will use it. I know you are there. Show yourself. Stupid cat. Maybe that's all it was. Wait. What is that in the shadows? Who are you? Stop.
You! Help me!
Well, even in a low-budget film noir, you've got to have a set for your actors to work in and for the dark and dirty deeds to happen. This is the set I put together for the little short film noir using very basic elements that are available in iClone. Some were purchased, and we'll talk about the elements that we used to make this particular little set work and how we lit it. So let's get started. Now, a lot of the basic elements for building this little set are readily available in iClone. If you look in your 3D block section, you've got wall and floor and walls with door openings and window openings. You can certainly use those. I used a pack that is available from iClone called Interior. Let's see if we can find it here. Interior Element Volume 2, and it contains a lot of elements that are really neat. You have doors and windows that you can utilize right here, and we have a staircase, which I used, and various elements like the chandelier. But you can find most all of this for free. Once again, if you have 3D Exchange to convert over at the 3D Warehouse at SketchUp.com. If you search the word Windows, you'll find all kinds of window elements that you can readily use in iClone, and they're even better than some of the ones I used. So you can find everything you need as long as you have 3D Exchange to do the conversion. You've got fireplaces here. And we've got bookshelves, all types of elements and props that will really look great in your set. And you don't have to really purchase anything, but I do like the the Interior Element Volume 2 is nice. So let's start from the floor up and build our little set. Okay, so we're going to need a floor. So I'm going to go over to my folder where I've saved lots of image maps through the years. One of my favorite ones here is this checkerboard. I'm going to hold down the control key and drag it over. And now let's rotate that. So there we go. Get it down on the floor. And let's just, for now, we'll just size it and drag it out because I had kind of a long floor there. We'll size it some more later probably. And of course we need to change the tiling of the map. So let's just for now play with it here, and let's go about 10. Okay, and do about 30 or so. There we go, close. And we'll probably change it again later. But that's our basic floor right there. Let's go back to our interior element, and let's find our windows. And I kind of started with the windows. I love these nice rounded windows, rounded on the top there. Okay, and so what I basically did was just rotate these and created some window effects down a hallway. And let's drag another one out. I'm going to hold down Control key and select the window and drag another one out over here. And now let's select both of them. Hold down the Control key. Now both windows are selected. I'm going to hold down Control key again, you see, and that creates another set of windows. So getting our windows done, laying them out, just roughly lay it out. Now let's go back and look at, we had some walls, I believe. Room interiors, I believe. Walls. Once again, you can use the blocks, and you can make this wall using the blocks, the 3D blocks. But for now, I think this will be fine. It's got a nice trim around it, which I kind of like. And we'll position this. And it's a pretty large doorway, which is fine, so maybe we want to scale our windows up larger. Okay, we'll select all of our windows again, and then we'll hold down the R key and we'll size them up larger. So we'll have some nice big, kind of an atrium effect. I don't know. That might work. We might want a little more space between the window and the doorway there. So that'll be fine. And as you can see, we'll have to resize our floor. But that's getting roughly what I wanted. And let's select this again. We will size this a little bit bigger and then drag it on out like so. And getting close. Okay, now one thing I like to do before I get too far along is add an avatar to get an idea of the scale of my set and what's going to look like when I've got a person standing, walking, interacting on this set. So I'm going to bring our femme fatale in, get an idea. This doorway is what I want. Probably want these windows even bigger, so they're just gigantic in scale. And we'll do that, make them much taller, and then we'll bring them in a little closer. Hold down Control again and drag them in like so. So that's closer, I think, to what I want on the windows. Now we'll probably add some wall partitions to make the wall closer to what? Let me see. I think I might have brought these walls out a little further, give me a little more area for a wall there. And we'll adjust the floor some more from time to time. Probably going to have a, I think what we found in here on a window was a window that opened like a door. And I'm going to use this particular window. And as I remember, it allowed the windows to open, which was kind of cool right there. So we can open that. So that'd make a nice door. So once again, I'm going to hit the R key here, scale this up. This can be a door. And so I'm going to lower it down to the level there. So that can be a door, which might work nicely. So we'll work with that some more and play with that a little bit. But that gets the idea of what we're doing. Now you can use the wall elements that are available in the 3D blocks. That might work okay. There's a wall element right here. The door would work fine too, of course. We'll drag that in there. And now it's just a matter of placing the wall partitions. And I'm going to rotate. Let's see that around. And so what we'll do is place this wall segment various places and get it the right size, and let that be our wall partition, and we'll need to size it a little better than that. Now you'll notice that once you start sizing one of these objects around, it starts acting a little strange when you want to do certain things. Now notice I want to adjust the scale here, and notice it does really strange once I adjusted that wall from its normal shape. What you need to do is go up here and make sure that when you make an adjustment like that to that particular shape, to set reset transformed, and now it will scale better. So once you adjust a wall, let's go over here like so, and you make some adjustments to it, and you adjust that particular pivot point, let's say. Okay, I've taken our wall section and placed it, multiplied it around. Now, I'm not too worried about matching up these angles. I'm not too worried about this joint right here. I kind of like angles and areas where shadows can catch, and rather than that wall being flush, I don't mind it, and so I let certain angles create an angle there, create a little more dimension maybe. So it's not a big deal with me. Some people might worry them, and you can get that angle set pretty close, and it'll probably look seamless. But I kind of like it having a bit more of an angle there, some more shapes and sizes and things for shadows. This door is not fitting exactly. Now you could put another wall there, but I'm just going to scale it a little different in here, stretch it out, and that will work fine for that. Now, definitely want to create a ceiling, and so what I typically do is just grab that floor, and now I'm going to hold down Control again, and I'm just going to duplicate it and drag it up here, and now I'll probably change that tile, maybe put some cracked plaster on it, I don't know. I'm just going to drag a shape over from my folder and change the color of that ceiling so it's different. And so now, okay, we've got the beginnings of our room, and as I said, this particular window, which has now become a door, has multiple parts, and we can adjust and open the door if we have to. So that's kind of a cool thing. That can be animated. So now it becomes a doorway into this hall. Okay, let's go on to the rest of the house now. Okay, let's work on the parlor, as it were, in our little set. And I'm going to move our roof here a little bit out of the way, and maybe adjust our light a little bit here. Okay, so basically what we had on this side of our set was the stairway, and let's see if we can find the stairway that I used. And once again, you can find these elements at the 3D warehouse for free and probably find some really cool. There we are. Now I believe I used this stairway here, maybe here. We'll try that one for now. For our purposes, it may work okay. Now, as you noticed in the video, I definitely cheated on her walking down this stairway. Didn't use the super cool technique that Rampa came up with in his section of the forum about getting an avatar to navigate the steps very nicely. These steps were rather narrow, and I'm not good enough to employ that technique. Hopefully I can get better at it. These steps are so narrow, it was really hard to get the avatar to move down very smoothly using some of the cool effects that Rampa came up with. So I just created a terrain angle and just let her kind of float down the steps. So I cheated there, but that's our stairwell we used. Let's go ahead and take this wall section, and I'm going to select it. I'm going to hit the control key once again and create a duplicate. And let's just see what we've got here. I'm going to scale it down. It's smaller. Let's go in here. And once again, we'll just position that roughly at the top of the stairs. And use our scaling tools here. And just create a rough approximation of a doorway. And I think that'll be fine for what we're going to do. And then once again, we use our wall sections to build up the rest of this area here. So we've got a wall there. And then we'll put our fireplace in and the bookshelves. Okay, I'm just dragging out some wall sections here, holding down the control key, making a duplicate, and stretching and getting them into place. And go. And real down and dirty technique. And we'll create, we can actually, if we want to, just make this wall the hallway, like so in the background there. And let's adjust those walls, get them a little closer to fitting. We don't want any light peeking through unnecessarily. Like so. Yeah. Now I'm not worrying too much about color shading because I'm going to make pretty much everything the same shade that we so because it's going to go black and white, I'm going to make everything black and white, so I'm not too worried about color at this point. Everything will take on the same shade. Let's see if we can let's grab this shade here. Let me just go down here, pick that. Now, as you're getting close to being ready with your scene, a couple of things you want to make sure you do. Like on the floor, let's double click it and let's go over and make sure that cast shadows is turned off. You really don't need the floor to be casting a shadow below. Receiving a shadow certainly is good. Another thing, maybe the ceiling. Click on the ceiling here. It might not need to cast a shadow depending on where you put that exterior light that we're going to be talking about in a minute. So you can do that. And also, of course, lighting in general. Click one of your lights and make sure that you've got self-cast shadow. Let's go over here, select this one. It'll probably be set to drop shadow, and you definitely don't want that. Make sure you put your lights on self-cast and bump up your resolution as far as your computer will handle, and probably adjust the bias down as low as you can, and it'll be obvious what looks good and what doesn't as you look in a close-up shot. Now, another thing you might want to do in regard to the floor is to put some reflection in. The only way to get really good reflections to work with iClone at the current time is to use water. And you can pretty much pick any of your waters. Just click on it, let it load in. It'll be real large and it'll be probably way too high, so you'll need to go up and adjust the height down closer to the floor. You'll probably want to turn off and delete the bump map. You probably won't need that. If there is any blurring turned on, you want to turn that off. So let's go here and reflection blur, let's turn that. And sometimes you can adjust some other things that might change, but for our purposes, yeah, above surface refraction strength might help. Above surface strength, once again, adjust that. And now let's lower the water level. The only way you can lower the level is here, or by selecting the water and making sure it's selected. Then you just tweak this level and you'll adjust your softness amount and play with that. until you get just the right amount of reflection here on the floor to make it look like a polished floor. So that'll help the scene as well. So you might want to do that. Okay, so we've added some props, which pretty much all came from 3D Warehouse, and were free. As long as you've got 3D Exchange, you can convert these props so they'll load right into iClone. So we've got a little fireplace, chairs, a lamp, bookcases, odds and ends. And now the question is, let's also show, of course, that, as I said, I had some problems with the steps. So I added a simple wedge-shaped triangular object, and so basically, and then put my motion path, and so she just came down the steps. Not really walking really good, I'm afraid. Once again, look up Rampa's tutorial on walking down steps, and that will be excellent. I pretty much did it down and dirty, and not a good way to do it, but my excuse will be these steps were extremely narrow, and it was very hard to get that effect to work. But anyway, let's now take a look at how we're going to light this. I've got a work light, I'm calling it, turned on. Let's turn it off for a second, and let's take a look. Of course, she's got a candelabra in her hand, and I wanted to make sure we had a light attached to her hand. So we'll turn on that light, turn it off for now, but you can see that light now is going to move with her since it's attached pretty much to her hand or to the candelabra, and so it will stay with her as she holds the candelabra. That will help a great deal in selling the effect. Also, in our room, you noticed I have a lamp here that I turned on, put a little glow on it. So I need a light to cast a shadow. So the candle was a point light, which doesn't really cast a shadow, it just illuminates. And the lamp, I wanted to cast a shadow. So I'm going to turn it on here. There we go. And you can see now that it's going to cast a shadow on the wall as she walks down the ramp, we'll call it now, like so. And that was an effect I really wanted, because noir films are all about shadows. And we've got a nice shadow there because I motivated that light with a lamp, so I was able to put that there. And that worked out pretty good. There's also a fire burning in the fireplace. I created a simple fire with some particle effects. So we needed a firelight. So that's going to be able to cast a light down the hallway of her shadow as she gets down here to the hall. And so when it comes down here, then I'm going to turn that light on. I put a keyframe on it, so now it's going to cast this shadow right here down the hallway, which I always like long shadows, and that's a great way to create a shadow. And it was motivated by the fire. So that kind of works kind of cool. And I gave it a little flicker effect, so it's kind of fading on and off to simulate a little bit of firelight. Okay, and now, of course, one of my favorite lights will be the exterior light, which we have here. And let's bring her on down the hallway. Now let's go down here. This will be another shadow casting spotlight. And exterior, I call it. And there we go. And now we have shadows on the walls, which I think are very crucial, once again, in a noir film. And there's her shadow on that wall there. And we may have gotten an extra keyframe put into that light. I'm going to go up here and clear animation just to be safe. So now, as she walks, we're getting a nice shadow there. And let's take a look and see where that light is. It's just outside the windows, of course. And there we are right there. And then, of course, we added some trees to create some shadows on the walls with trees. And we'll turn the trees on now. And I've adjusted the trees so they work with the light. And they're not necessarily realistic placement of trees. It's just that they are going to look good on the wall inside. So that's the more important thing. As far as I'm concerned, we're not going to see that camera angle, particularly of that tree, so it's not a problem. So we put that light outside and adjusted it to make sure it's casting a nice light and a nice shadow on the trees. So let's go back inside here. And we've, of course, placed our chandelier here. We get a nice shot from the chandelier. So we've got our lights basically in place. The nice thing is she's always going to get some light on her face because we've put a point light at the candelabra. And that'll be nice right there. So she's always lit. And then she's passing in and out of light through the window, which would be nice too. And once again, all about creating mystery and the unknown, darkness and shadows. And that's the fun thing about noir films. So this is a pretty basic little set, real simple. But I think it all depends on where you put your camera, where you put your light. You can create a nice effect with very simple props that'll look really neat for your film. Now the last adjustments you might want to make are the color. And as you saw in the clip, I went ahead and went with a black and white look. And so went over to the effect panel and chose the color adjust feature. And once we've got that, we can of course turn gray style on, and that'll take out our color and give it a nice black and white look. You can of course do this in your NLE, your editing program, easily, but I'll do it here. And you can of course play with your brightness and contrast levels too, and tweak to your taste. Another thing I did was add a little touch of atmosphere and did the HDR effect. And be very careful with this and adjust it to where you like, but just a little will go a long way. Don't want to overdo it, but tweak these controls here to get the look you might want for your film. And also you might experiment with the ambient occlusion up here, and once again very fine adjustments and fine details. Look at it real closely, determine what you want, and play with it judiciously. But then I think that will pretty much give you the look you might want in a little film noir. So I hope that helped.